It's episode 10 of Out of Office. I've been blown away by how well this series has been received. We recently reached our millionth person on LinkedIn. Just let that sink in. We found all kinds of interesting stories about the future of work. My personal favorite was that remote software jobs are pumping enough money into Nigeria to completely transform that country's economic outlook within 10 years. We've talked about how remote work is changing people's lives and CEOs' minds even. But the thing that's meant the most to me personally on this journey is the amount of deep and productive conversations that it started. That's why I'm here. That's why we're here. I created Out of Office because I realized there are millions of remote workers out there who are deeply interested in what's going on with remote work. And they've gotten nowhere to get a real-time view of how all this rapid change is going to affect our collective future and help those dots start to form a big picture. So this weekly video series is for you. Now for some real talk. Here on Out of Office, we spend a lot of time talking about good news. Now it may look like I'm wearing rose-tinted glasses, but the reality is that most of the news and data that's coming in around remote work is really positive, but we're not afraid to tackle the big questions or talk about the unfavorable side, and this week is one of those. So take a look at this new data from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. It looks pretty bad, right? Remote workers are working less and spending more time on leisure and sleeping. Does this mean we all get a big fat? And what happened to all that data we've looked at before showing that people are more productive at home than in the office? This whole lazy storyline plays right into the hands of big-time CEOs who hated remote work since the start. All along, the reason that they've denied the evidence that productivity goes up remotely is because they claim it's an outlier, a one-off. We all saw that burst of energy at the start of the pandemic when everyone just rallied together to get done. But what happens when that fades? And what happens in 10 or 20 years when the pandemic is long forgotten and the world is run by Gen Z? People are gonna push boundaries. And that's okay. It's human nature, right? Every kid does it and adults aren't that much different. We already have completely different viewpoints on what's acceptable during a remote workday. Quick poll, is it okay to take a personal phone call on the clock? Is it okay to supervise kids on the clock? Clean the house, start dinner? The point is, everyone has their own answers to those questions, and after any new fad calms down, there's a dip. And nobody actually knows yet what will happen to the productivity of remote workers long term if they're left completely to their own devices to answer that kind of question. Now, I'm a rational optimist. I know I'm gonna work my butt off whether my productivity is being checked or not. And you're probably the same, right? But not everyone is. And that's the problem nobody has quite figured out how to solve yet. Some companies are letting their workers do whatever they want. Others, like the one I work for, are monitoring a bunch of data inputs and often copying flack for it. And honestly, I respect both perspectives. But nobody knows yet where the dust is actually gonna settle on this. Maybe some companies will use their policies to try and attract people from their competitors. Maybe some countries will introduce laws that change the rules for everyone. But we do know that this conversation is going to continue, and here at Out of Office, we'll be keeping track and updating you whenever there's new information. Oh, but I almost forgot. You know that data? The graph that showed remote workers are lazy? You know what's not on it? It's kind of a biggie. Commuting. The data doesn't show how much time people spent traveling to work. And you want to know why? It's because this study isn't measuring total productivity. It's measuring what people do with all that time that they save commuting, aka the dead time that wasn't spent on work before either. So all this study shows is that remote workers are still staying productive while they're working, but now they've figured out that they've regained 5+ hours of formerly dead time every single week. And now they get to reinvest into the things that really matter, like friends, hobbies, and family. And who can blame them? So those skeptics can take their lazy alert and shove it up there. Okay, that's all we've got time for this week, but I want to hear from you. If you've gotten this far, please take a second to like this video and drop a comment below letting me know which country you're watching from. I want to see how many we can get. I'm Andrew Allen, and the future of work is Out of Office.